Welcome again. This time around we'll be doing a video on Bagamoyo Port Special Economic Zone. We have already done a video on this project in the past. Two videos actually. The first video was where we highlighted the project and the progress that it had made. The second video is on analysis of the project and whether it was to be completed, where we asked ourselves whether there is hope on this project. In today's video, we'll be asking ourselves a few questions regarding the cancellation and also whether the Tanzanian government was realistic in cancelling this project twice. The proposed Bagamoyo Port and Special Economic Zone project has been one of the most ambitious and controversial infrastructure projects in Tanzania's recent history. The project, which was to cost around 10 billion US dollars, would have involved the construction of a deep water port and an associated special economic zone on the coast of Tanzania in Bagamoyo town. This was with the aim of transforming the country into a major trading and logistics hub for East African region. However, the project has been cancelled twice. First in 2016 and again in 2017, and this was due to a range of issues that we'll be looking at in this video. The Tanzanian government, the current regime, has promised to revive the project, but the issues that we are going to see, some of them have not been addressed. In this video, we attempt to answer the following questions. What has led to the cancellation of this project twice? Was the Tanzanian government being unrealistic given the model that the project has taken, the PPP model, where the investor has to take some risk and responsibility, and in return the government was supposed to give some incentives and some concessions? And then we're going to ask ourselves whether the project will ever kick off and be completed successfully. One of the main contentious issues contributing to cancellation of this project revolves around the financial viability and sustainability of this project. The project was primarily expected to be financed through loans provided by China Exim Bank, with the Tanzanian government holding a minority stake in the project. However, critics argue that the terms of the loans agreements were unfavorable, with high interest rates, short repayment periods, which could potentially lead to debt distress and give China excessive influence over Tanzania's economy. There also has been concerns about the lack of transparency and public consultation around the project, with some arguing that the project was being pushed forward without adequate input from local communities, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders. Another major issue that has contributed to the cancellation of this project has been conflict over land concession. The proposed site for the project is located near a wildlife sanctuary and a mangrove forest, and this raises concern about the potential and environmental impact of the project. Additionally, the project will require acquisition of large amounts of land, including farmland and residential areas, which would result in the displacement of thousands of people. Critics argue that government has not adequately consulted with the local communities, and those who have been displaced have not been compensated adequately. And adequate compensation and resettlement options for those who would be displaced have not been provided. Some also argue that the land acquisition process has been opaque and that there are concerns about corruption and favoritism in the awarding of contracts and concessions. A third issue that has contributed to the cancellation of the project is disagreement over over terms of agreement between the Tanzanian government and the project investors. One of the main points of contention is the ownership structure of the port and the special economic zone. Under the original agreement, which was signed in 2013, China Merchants Holding International, the state-owned port operator, was to hold a majority stake in the project, with the Tanzanian government holding a minority stake. This arrangement was seen by some as giving too much control over the country infrastructure to a foreign entity and as potentially undermining Tanzania sovereignty and economic independence. It has also been reported that one of the issues that led to cancellation of the project was disagreement between Tanzania government and the project investors over the terms of agreement, including the demands for discounted prices on electricity and water. According to reports, the investors in the project had requested that they be provided with discounted prices for water and electricity, as well as other infrastructure services in order to reduce the operating cost of the project. However, the Tanzanian government reportedly rejected these demands, arguing that the project needed to be financially sustainable and that it could not afford to offer such concessions. There were also concerns about potential environmental and social impacts of the project. The proposed port and special economic zones would have been located or will be located near several sensitive ecosystems, which include mangrove, forest, wildlife sanctuary, among others. There were concerns that the construction and operation of the port could have negative impacts on these ecosystems, as well as on the local fishing industry and other livelihoods. There are also concerns about the potential social impacts of the project, highlighting displacement of communities and impacts on local cultural heritage. As you have said earlier, the project was to be under PPP model. The demands from investors, including price concession among other incentives, the private investors in the project were asking. This is a normal practice within the PPP model. The private sector investors typically expect to earn profit from their investment in exchange for taking on risk and responsibility of developing and operating the project. According to reports, the private sector investors in this project had several demands and requests to the Tanzanian government. And these requests, Tanzanian government considered them to be unreasonable or difficult to accommodate. This included requests for discounted prices on water and electricity, as well as requests on tax breaks, regulatory exemptions, and other incentives. The investors also reportedly sought greater control of the management and operation of the project and expressed concerns about the transparency and predictability of the regulatory and legal environment in Tanzania. At the same time, the Tanzanian government was under pressure to balance the interests of the private sector investors with those of local community local communities, environmental advocates, and other stakeholders. There were concerns about the potential environmental and social impacts of the project, as well as the risk of displacing local community and disrupting traditional land use patterns. The government was also under pressure to ensure that the project was financially sustainable and economically viable, and to avoid excessive concessions or incentives that would undermine its long-term economic and social goals. Economics and social goals. Ultimately, the disagreement and conflicts over Bagamoyo project generally highlights the challenges of balancing competing interests and priorities in large-scale infrastructure projects. While private sector investment can be an important driver of economic growth and development, it is also important to ensure that such investment is sustainable and accountable, and that it takes into account the social and environmental concerns of local communities and other stakeholders. This requires careful planning, transparent decision-making process, and effective risk management, as well as strong regulatory frameworks and oversight mechanism. The proposed project was beset by a range of contentious issues and conflicts, including concerns over financial viability and sustainability, conflicts over land concessions, disagreements over terms of the agreement, and concerns about potential environmental and social impact. These issues ultimately led to the cancellation of the project twice, 2016 and 2019. While the Tanzanian government has expressed its commitment to improving the country's infrastructure and attracting foreign investment, it will need to address these issues and ensure more transparent and consultative process in order to gain public support and ensure long-term sustainability and viability of such projects. There is also a need to balance economic development with social and environmental consideration, and to ensure that local communities are fully engaged and have a say in the planning and implementation of such project. This will require strong regulatory framework, more transparent decision-making processes, and greater accountability and oversight of public-private partnership infrastructure projects. The Tanzanian government has indicated that it remains committed to promoting private sector investment in infrastructure and other key sectors of the economy, and it has taken steps to improve the regulatory environment and create more business-friendly climate. For example, in 2018, the government passed the PPP Act, which provides a legal framework for the PPP projects and establishes a PPP unit to oversee project selection, procurement, and implementation. The government has also launched several initiatives to improve the country's infrastructure, including the Tanzania Infrastructure Program and National Transport Strategy. In addition, the cancellation of the Bagamoyo Port and Special Economic Zone project may have raised awareness among stakeholders about the importance of transparent and consultative decision-making process and the need to balance the interests of different stakeholders in large-scale projects. Going forward, it will be important for Tanzania government to engage with stakeholders and communities in a meaningful and transparent way, and to ensure that the PPP model projects are designed and implemented in a way that maximizes economic and social benefits while minimizing negative impacts on people and the environment. In summary, the Bagamoyo Port and Special Economic Zone project highlights the challenges and complexities of large scale projects in developing countries. While such projects have the potential to stimulate economic growth and create new opportunities, they also carry significant risk and potential negative impacts. It is therefore critical to ensure that such projects are planned and implemented in a sustainable and inclusive manner with strong environment and social safeguards and the participation and support of all relevant stakeholders. Thank you for watching this video up to this point. If it's your first time here, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Also watch other videos that you have done on this topic and other topics. Thank you.